Cedric Maxwell podcast is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Another episode of the Cedric Maxwell podcast. I am Joseph Pavone alongside Cedric Maxwell. And fellas, we told you we're gonna have some great guests. We got one right here, very special guest, Grant Williams, NBA veteran, former Celtic, Charlotte Hornet big man, joining the show, man, during his off season. What's going on, Grant? Appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
Heard something about your voice. Tell us, your vocals weren't right.
We had to postpone this. That's right.
Tell us what happened, man. Because I'm like, what's wrong with my boy's voice? If it hurt anybody not to talk, it had to be you.
Yeah, just say it was like a whole week and a half, 2 weeks where I really just either didn't have a voice or I was raspy. So it was interesting dealing with that. You know, it wasn't even from season. That's the crazy part. Like, I was yelling as much as I could during the year, but then all of a sudden my voice goes away when I start the off season. It's crazy, but happy to have it back, and hopefully people are happy to hear it again.
Well, tell us a little bit about your Charlotte team before we talk about your former team and all these other things, because just tell us what you're doing right now and how they're doing.
Well, what I'm doing is what you see. I'm sitting here watching games, but outside of that, golfing and just, enjoying the off season as much as I can, but at the same time, getting prepared. Our team's young, has a lot of great potential. I feel like no one really expects much of us, which is part of the good thing, because we have the talent to be able to do a lot of special things next year, whether it's winning games, but also making playoffs and just making an impact on each other, as we continue to grow. Whatever draft pick we add this upcoming offseason, and then on top of that, the veterans that we'll continue to bring back, and hopefully whoever we sign, hopefully we get Miles back. And it's just a good opportunity for us to really make a lot of great things happen.
Just the way this man's a veteran. He talks like a veteran. His words are measured. All this stuff. Now I want to get to the knitting, the down dirty stuff, because both your former teams are playing right now. How do you feel about that? You look at Dallas. Dallas gave you this money. Then they all of a sudden decided that this doesn't fit. How did that rang out with you in the first place?
Yeah, for me, it was one of those where I didn't take anything from it. Like, they gave me the opportunity to make the money that I am making now, but also have an opportunity to make a name or even position myself for the team that I'm on currently. I'm excited for the opportunity here in Charlotte, but when it comes to Dallas, like, I'm excited for those guys. They look good and competing against the Clippers. I'm excited for my man D Jones. I just want to give a big shout out to him, because not only is he a tremendous human being, but a great teammate and a person that plays incredibly hard. One of the best defenders in the league in my eyes. But and then Luka and Kyrie have been special as they always been.
Just wait, before you ask your question, I got to get to this, because this is crazy. When did you become a bad guy? Well, I mean, I was all of a sudden, I see Mike Gorman talking about you. I see people from Dallas in the background talking about you. And the guy that I've always known and the guy that I love is a friend. And, you didn't have any of this. So where did all this crap come from about you?
I have no idea. Honestly, it's one of those where I think when narrative is created, people jump on it. So I think after the trade and everything else that got leaked from whatever else, I don't know who leaked, like whether it was Tim Legler or stuff like that, saying people didn't like me there. I don't know what it was, but it started it. And then I guess when Draymond while I was there in Dallas, I remember Draymond and Book were talking about how I was being a tough guy and all this other stuff. But I've always been a guy that protects and helps my teammates whenever possible. So I never go into a game saying I'm trying to fight nobody. So it's really interesting just hearing all those different narratives, and you just try your best to take the high road and move past them, because I really appreciate each and every player that I play with, every player that I've come across. I love to compete. I'm a natural competitor, and sometimes your competitive instincts get the best of you, but at the same time, that the whole bad guy narrative, no idea. And then Gordon,
well, look, wait a minute, hold on. You were rubbing heads with Jimmy Butler.
I
do remember that.
Yeah,
I remember some of these things you've been in. I mean, this is my boy. I'm sticking with you thick and thin, but you did have a couple of beasts with some people, and it was right in front of our eyes.
You know what's funny? It's funny because if you know me, Max, I'm not the first type to talk first, So, it's like if you look at the Jimmy story, I always tell it all the time. Like, Jimmy, when I shot the three right before that play happened, the N1 happened, I remember he said, hell no, ain't here. And so made the three. I said, I'm here. Like, I'm kind of I'm making it because I have a good game, stuff like that. And then he made the shot. He said, I'm here too. And just started screaming it. And I don't remember what we said. It was just like that blackout moment. But like, I'm never a type to back down from any level of competition. I enjoy, like, I'm the type of person that, like, I want to compete against you no matter how you like to compete, whether it's you talking trash and then I talk. But if you don't talk,
Right.
like Giannis is, the Joel Embiid never talks trash, like, well, at least not to me. But, you know, like those guys, like, they just get the work in. And I love those type of players, whether it's like no matter where we are, no matter what game we're playing, I'm ready to compete at the highest level and we're going to battle. And that's what I enjoy. I love the battle. I love the war. And some nights you're going to lose and other nights you're going to win. So I always try keeping my head high through it. And when I lose, I admit that I got my ass kicked. And then when I win, I'm expect to be hearing the same.
You know, I'm glad you guys brought this up because one of the biggest quotes that stood out to me after Game 5 was what Jason Tatum talked about when he asked, well, who decides what tough is, right? Toughness. I mean, everyone has their own sort of definition in a sense, right? It doesn't always have to be, the loudest guy in the room or the guy who's maybe a quiet leader. You know, there's different forms of toughness. So when guys want to change the narrative, it sort of depends on who speaking on it, right? Like who defines that, you know, like, yeah, in the spirit of the moment, like you just said, you and Jimmy Butler going at it or whatever, like, yeah, you're going to talk your ish because you're competing, you know? And I thought that was one of the great moments of that series because it was like, man, when the Suns were down 0-3, it's like someone needs to start showing some of that, showing some, hey, we're not going to get pushed around here. And I thought that you really were the guy that sort of changed that, you know, throughout that series. And then, of course, the comeback obviously fell short in Game 7, but man, to force a Game 7, it takes a lot of toughness and a lot of grit to get, you know, back into the series the way you guys did.
Absolutely. Like, I always respect those Heat teams because, like, I always say when you define tough, you have to think of the guys who do it consistently. Like, you can see this Orlando Magic teams get in there. Like, they're a team that people would say is and breeds toughness, you know, like same with Tibbs teams in New York. Like, those guys are tough no matter if they're fighting you or if they're just playing hard. Right. And Miami is a team that, like me and Bam always talk just because we've known each other since we were 15, 16 years old. So, like, I say he thinks I'm complimenting or not complimenting him. There was one play, I think, where he hit a little shimmy fade, and I said, okay, you've been working on your game. And he like cursed me out. But I was like, I'll just give you a compliment. My bad. But, like, those teams, like, they play hard, man, and you got to love it. You got to step into it. Like, no matter, you'll see a lot of these playoff moments that are going to happen where a team's going to try and put an impact. Like you saw in not only just the Miami Heat Boston series, Bam ran through Al's chest in Game 4, you know. Mm-hmm. You see whether it's the Mavs Clippers series, you know, where PJ, you know, gets going, gets the crowd going, and gets the team going, and it sparks some level of toughness. Because if you look over each series, I remember Game 1 watching the Mavs series, Clips came out on some, like, we're going to bully you guys. And then that series, next game, they responded. So that's the love of the playoffs for me, is something I miss and wish I was in right now. But that level of competitive edge, that level of understanding that winning is priority, no matter how it looks, no matter how ugly it gets. And I think that's the identity of toughness. You know, you can be a guy that wants to fight everybody, but, you know, it's a level of insecurity. So I always say that being tough doesn't necessarily be defined by being the loudest in the room or being a guy that walks around saying no one's going to mess with me, unless you're James Johnson, because James Johnson kill one.
You know what? I always say that. There's certain guys you don't fuck with in the league. Right there, he ain't the one.
Yo, his name came up in this podcast before.
But that dude, nah, I ain't fuck with him either.
Listen.
Oh,
you know, Mama used to say, like, if you get into a fight at school and you lose, you better fight again and keep fighting until, like, and you keep coming back.
Oh, heading back, yeah.
One of those guys where I say, Ma, I'm gonna need some help.
You know, it must have been pretty cool because Max brought up the Mike Gorman comment about you weren't always the best teammate, and that Jason Tatum just goes out on Twitter and just says pretty much like, "Hey, that's cap." You know, like what was that like? You know, to see rather Jason Tatum speak up and just sort of set the record straight. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, that was special. I remember when he did that, I didn't even ask him to do that, and I just sent him a text afterwards like, "I appreciate you." Like, that's like something that goes unnoticed sometimes, and I appreciate him. D. White, I think, spoke up about it as well. And, like, I still keep in contact with my teammates from my rookie season. Like, I talked to Carson and Taco and guys like that. I try to reach out to everybody because, you know, like, we're all brothers at the end of the day. And as players, you know, it's a difficult thing sometimes. You might not have the closest relationship, but there might be a level of respect. And there's other guys that you're going to have close relationships with, and they're going to be the ones that you maybe invite to your wedding one day or stuff like that. But being a bad teammate is something that I never want to be called or labeled, because I try my best to be there for my teammates in whatever capacity possible. And yeah, sometimes I will acknowledge that I get annoying or get some level of like some shut up, Grant, like we got to just focus on this. And I accept it, because I know my personality and my goofiness is not for everybody. And I remember Tice, this is the perfect example. Tice hated me, I think, when I first got to Boston. He hated me. He always would tell me to shut up and stuff like that. And we went to a couple dinners, and he started getting comfortable around me. Now he's one of my closest friends. But like, I always tease him. I remember back in the day, man, you used to treat me wrong as a rookie. It wasn't because I was a rookie. And he was like, yeah, I couldn't stand you, but not the same.
I think the thing about the NBA, I want to ask you this, comparing two players, because you play with two great players. Now you see Jason Tatum, and then you see what you have with Luka. How different are those two players, and what are their games like, since you've seen them up close and personal?
It's actually very interesting, because someone asked me this the other day. In terms of their ability, like the level of impact they both have on the game is incredible and special. You know, I haven't had the opportunity to see JT on his own, like by himself, with no other like necessarily like where Luka's just Kyrie's down, a couple guys down, the other secondary playmakers. I remember when JB went down, that's when I saw JT in that Nets series. And I remember he had 61. Like, people act like he doesn't have that, but JT's ability to defend and then impact the game offensively, not just by his scoring but by his playmaking, is something special, because he trusts his teammates, and something that he's had to learn and develop. Luka, I think he's in a position right now where he knows that he can carry a team. And I think he's going to develop that, where it's like, okay, I can carry, but at the same time, like last night, you saw how he was getting off the ball, playing faster and stuff like that. And I think as he develops that, continues similar to how JT did, like, it's going to be special. He's going to be special to watch. He's already one. I think he's like him, JT, Jokic, and who's the fourth? Giannis, you could say, are like four of the top best players in the league. You could argue your case for each one. And each one's different, but I think that like it's special to be on the teams with those two. Luka slows the game down, I think he makes more difficult shots than Tatum, just in terms of the shots that he's able to take and the footwork and his pace and stuff like that.
How the hell does that man get his shot off? It looks slow motion. I'm like looking at it. You can see it coming. And like,
I want to say this, Sid. He's going to be the one that, you know, you guys talk about Larry Bird and how cold he was back in the day and stuff like that. He's going to be that forever. Like, no one's going to believe how good Luka was. No one's going to believe, like, oh, how is he doing this at this pace? Like, you guys just weren't athletic enough or guard him. All this. No, this guy is special. And, like, I'm excited to see who fights between the faces of the league, between him, JD, and Anthony Edwards over the next 5-10 years. And then when Victor becomes Victor, like, when he is in the conversation. But, like, man, I was around that man in practice every day to day, and he's a phenomenal player. But he's also, like, I think people always talk about Luka as if, like, he's not this good guy. Like, he's amazing. Like, he's a good dude, and he's a person that you could also always say, like, he wants to compete, he wants to win, and sometimes it may look like he's whining or complaining, but at the same time, like, that's just a level of passion, and sometimes it may look different compared to person by person. And I'm thankful to be able to say I played with both of those two guys in my career, and who knows? I must be able to say the same, hopefully, about LaMelo and Brandon Miller as they continue to develop.
You see, I did that, Josue. Say, turn that page.
Yo, that's how you do it, man. That's a veteran.
That's some good shit right there. Turn that right back to his team. That's pretty good, young man. You've learned a lot.
Episode of the Cedric Maxwell podcast is powered by PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less and 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes PrizePicks the #1 sports app. This week on PrizePicks, I'm selecting Derek White for more than 4.5 assists and Kristaps Porzingis for more than 8.5 rebounds. It's that easy. Download the app today and use the code CLNS for a first deposit up to $100. That's CLNS for a first deposit up to $100. Download Prize Picks today and make sure you use the promo code CLNS.
The thing that I really thought was so cool about meeting you the first time is that you're not afraid. You're not afraid to instill yourself into people. The first time I ever met you, I remember you coming sitting beside me on the plane. You always remember that. And you talking to me. I was like, damn, that's for a young player. Normally that doesn't happen. Did that come from your mom? You know, because she is so, and your dad. Are those people the people that influence you to be more talkative and, you know, just let your personality flow?
Yeah, I would say my dad got me for the social aspect, being able to walk up to anybody and say hello and introduce yourself and talk. Like I remember there was a story about the Big Three where my friend was the biggest fan of Ice Cube and Run Artest and a couple others. And he's the shyest guy you can ever know. And my dad was like, man, come on. And he like walks us over. He's like, this is Kyle. This is Grant, blah, blah, blah. This is my kid. Like, and I just got it from him. Like being able to say like, what's the worst that could happen? Someone just say it's go away or, you know, shut up or something like that. Yeah, you got to get used to rejection. So that's where I got it from, the social aspect. From my mom, I feel like that's where I got my curiosity. And I think that's why some people always say like he's a know-it-all or wants to know it all at least, because like she told me back in the day, like there's always 7 solutions or more to an equation or problem. Dang. So you have to look, like I don't want you to just give me one. I want you to give me all of them. So like that's why I always ask why. It's because it's not because I'm questioning or trying to be argumentative. Because I'm curious, like I want to know how they got to the answer, like how like I could view it from a different perspective, and I think that can rub people the wrong way sometimes. But at the same time, like I always assume that I do it from the good place of my heart. I never want to do it from a contentious, like I put diminishing way. But those are the 2 people that I kind of learned my life from, and I try and tell people to live the same way, because when it comes to the social aspect, like you never know who you'll meet one day. You'll never know when will arise. You never know what connections and friends you can make that might be lifelong. And then from the other perspective, you never know what you could learn. Like you never know like what coach can teach you something that you would never expected. Or that,
you know what, Grant, that's different from a mother of color. Okay, like Joseph Wade's mom. Just wait, could you imagine your mom asking you stuff and you going, why? And they'll
man.
about 7 times. My mom would have got one.
You had about one. Yeah, one good why. That's it.
And my dad, there was no time. There was no why. It's just like, I told you to go out there. I know it's 150 degrees right now, but you go out there and cut that grass. I wish I would have turned around and said, hey, why?
No. The best is why. And then, what you just say? Never mind. It's done. I'm gonna get it done. All right, Dad, my bad. You're right.
My grandma, my grandpa, man, that was it. Like that's how I learned how to shut up too. Like that's what my mom said, that the reason why she raised me that way. She's, I don't want to beat my children. I don't want to be the person that like makes an impact on you. And I was like, sheesh, my grandma did as much as you said you wouldn't. So.
Well, now,
hold on, Max. I gotta ask this question real quick. When did you start playing basketball? When did you fall for the game, so to speak? Was it a social thing? Did you how did the game come into your life? And when did you realize, like, man, I can, you know what, this is my future?
Yeah, I came from a basketball family, so like in a way, like I was a kid that honestly was just a lazy kid that just like didn't really know much, was just enjoyed basketball because it gave me the chance to meet friends and stuff like that at first. My cousin Salim Stoudemire, Damon, those guys, that's the reason why like I have some type of connection from my dad's side. And then I remember I fell in love with it really going into my like high school season, because before I just loved the competitiveness of basketball. I enjoyed the socialness of basketball because I was a shy kid. I was a guy that was insecure. I was a nerd. So it wasn't like something that made me cool. And then eventually I was like, dang, like I love this sport. I love being in the gym. I love working out. Like I enjoy, and I'm getting like sometimes you may lose that love. And I feel like that's something you find again, you know, when it comes to profession, to turning it back to your love and passion. And I remember that was in high school that I was like, you know what? Like I love this game and I want to see what the most I can do out of it. And I want to continue to improve and get better, and no matter what people say or do around me, I'm gonna make the most out of the opportunities that I receive.
Now I got to ask you this question: when did Kyrie Irving become the love bug now again? Because he's gone from, villain. Nobody likes him. Get out of this team. And now you see a whole nother side that he's gotten to Dallas, and they've just embraced him. And he seems like he's in this growth pattern. I mean, you're there with him. You play with him. But how has that changed? That just seems really kind of cool. It's really cool for me to see that come for him.
I feel like it's a level of growth from every person, but at the same time, it's always narrative and spin. Same way they talked about Russell Westbrook being, quote, the worst player and talked out of his name. He was in LA, and then he goes to the Clippers, and you're like, oh, like he's an impact player, and it's changed the narrative and the conversation around him. But these guys, I remember Kyrie when I first got to the league, he treated me with some of the most respect and care of any rookie, second year, third year player. And I'm thankful because he was that way when I got to Dallas too. He's a very inquisitive, conversationalist person. He may sometimes, everybody has their swings. Everybody has their ups and downs. Whether it's, I do too, and I smile every single day. But Kyrie's been a person that that love bug, that kind of embracing, he always has that on teams.
When did the hell did he come and stomp on the leprechaun's face?
No, here we go.
And wipe his damn shit? No, I'm not letting that go.
I said, here we go. I know you didn't let me go.
That was and I've always been the biggest Kyrie fan. That's the one time I was pissed off with Kyrie about doing, because there was no need to do that.
Do you remember when T.O. went to the Star? And
yeah, I do. I didn't like him for that either.
That's what people, when they talked about him. I'm not supporting what he did at all, because I have a level of respect for Boston and feel a care that they showed me. But at the same time, that's that level of you guys want to treat me this way? All right, then we'll do this. We're gonna compete, and when we beat you, I'm gonna put my flag, stamp my flag like Oklahoma Texas game. Put my flag in the middle of your stadium, because you guys didn't want me, or you guys talk crazy about me. I'm gonna show you different.
Max takes it as a stop to the organization. I take it as he was stopping to the fans, but.
Yeah, I took it as stopping to the fans. Y'all want to keep talking, calling me this, calling me that. All right, bet. Okay. Wipe my foot when I just beat you guys walking in your arena.
Right.
Ooh. That seemed more like dog shit was on your foot, and you just wiped it. I was like,
yeah, he wiped it in there. He wiped it in there.
Come on, man. I was like, I love you, dude, but that was, and then that made everything else go. But I've always. But then he goes from that to Brooklyn. He's in Brooklyn, obviously, and he was loved there. And then all of a sudden he wanted to leave, and now he gets to Dallas. And I'm genuinely happy for Kyrie Irving. It seems like he's in a great place right now, and I'm happy for him as a person, and a person that you've been around, and a person that I've always said maybe the best finisher I've ever seen for a guy his size. I've never seen that before. I said the most talented guard the Celtics have ever had offensively would have been Kyrie Irving. And I look at the league, he might be one of the most special guards like that. That left-handed shot that he shot against, that was crazy that he was able to make over the Joker. So he just has so many tools, man. So many irons. It's crazy.
It's crazy because I was fortunate to be able to play those guys a couple times, one-on-one and stuff like that during the year. And guarding Kyrie, sometimes I always talk trash because I was like, I guard you pretty well. And then we get to one-on-one and stuff like that. And the shots that he's able to create for himself, and the separation he's able to create, that's something I always say is special about him, because he's not the most athletic or oversized guy, but his ability to use his footwork, his positioning, how to stop on a dime, how to use either hand, it's just special. And then Luka, his size and his ability to just create space, it's two separate different players. And honestly, it's just really cool to play with and against.
The man's a crane when I watch Luka. He's just and I understand what you're saying, because I remember I was one of the first guards, one of the guys that guard Larry Bird. And I was thinking the same way. I'm like, shit, nah, this ain't real. And I stood out there for about.
But Grant, you got to remember, it's the early '80s.
About an hour. After about an hour of play, I had pretty much talked about this white boy saying, shh, white boy can't play. After about an hour and getting to the next black person I got to after that practice, I said, you know what? fucking white guy can play down there, and just change the narrative to who he was. And I'm sure that, but I'm just like, I'm very curious in how it was viewing Luka from afar, but then viewing him every day. That's a different feel for anybody.
Yeah, I was on the Celtics guarding him, and I was like, he makes a lot of tough shots. You know, like, I remember I talked to him when I got there, and I said, like, did you ever feel like I guarded you well? You know, like, because, like, there was some times where, like, I would get great defense, he'd make a tough shot. He's like, yeah, you all right. Like, he's just that type of guy. Like, he's just like, he's an asshole sometimes. It's funny, but at the same time, like, it's really cool because, like, when you get there, you realize that he does work on all these things. Like, he has, like, a love for the game and a level of commitment to it. And, like, it's all about, like, he just really
he works on his game. He threw it off the backboard one time and it went in. I've never seen that. The big jumbotron in somebody's building, he throws it up to the top, hits the jumbotron, and then comes straight in. He works on that.
He works on everything you could think of. Like that shot that he shot, I remember there was a game where it was a 28-foot mark. I think I got subbed out. And he was on the 28-foot mark. He bumps and, like, is in a trap location. He just throws it up with his right, and it goes off the glass and goes in. Like, he does that every single day. Like, he'll walk into the gym, and there'll be a ball rack there. He'll just start from wherever the ball rack location is, and then he'll make like 3 or 4 of them, and he'll be like, all right, cool. Like, I kind of have the feel. Like, he just special, man. He's special.
What was the biggest difference between playing for Ime Udoka and playing for Joe Mazzulla? Because that turnaround from the 2022 team, man, like we'll never forget that. You know, just the way that you guys ended the season, went right in through the playoffs, all the way to the NBA Finals, 2 wins away, and then all of a sudden, you guys have a new coach heading into training camp. Or you have to adapt to that. Just tell me, like, what was the biggest differences that you could think of off the top between playing for Joe Mazzulla in that first season and compared to what Ime Udoka was like?
2 different styles. I think honestly polar opposite styles. You know, like Ime is very like tough. I want dog, like, and I want to defend. Like, offense will come. Like, I just want guys who are willing to play as hard as possible and fight and whatever else and grit. And then Joe's a little bit more like, he still is like, if you know him, he's crazy as hell. He wants to fight and tough. He still wants that. But he's way more offensively minded. He's way more like, I want to get better pace. He want to get better looks. Like, don't turn down open shots. Like, even the contested ones, don't turn them down. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's where I feel like, I think that it wasn't, I always say, like, you have to give credit to Joe because, like, the first year of a head coach put in the position that he was in, that's difficult for anybody. Like, you're trying to both keep what was working going while also, like, putting your own twist on things. And I think that's probably a good thing, not a good thing, but, like, at the same time, like, I think that it was something that was needed to happen for, like, myself, like, for Sam to play, because that fits more Joe's style versus when it was me and him. It's like a question of, like, well, Grant got us helped us get there last year, but then it's like Sam is kind of fitting the kind of system and play that I want to play. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I think that it's just 2 different styles of coaches, and we see that across the league. Like, when like a Cliff, or like these guys have their Tibbs, these guys have their type of styles of teams. You know, they know the type of athlete, the type of person they want in their system. Versus, like, Joe was kind of handed a team, and that's why I think that this year's team has so much success. Not just in addition with the Drew ad and the Kristaps ad, but like the styles of play. Like Ime in Houston, like, he changed that team around because at the end of the day, he brought toughness and he brought grit to an organization that hadn't necessarily had a level of consistency or style of play. And I think that, like, both are tremendous coaches. They're just completely different. Like, it's like arguing like a Rick Barnes to Nate Oates. Like, Rick Barnes is a little more old school, a little more physical, a little more down. Like, I want to make the game mucked and ugly. While Nate Oates is like, I want to play more fast. I want to shoot more threes. I want to play more NBA style. Like, it's just 2 great coaches. And once they get their teams, they can make the best maximize the potential of it.
Playoff time, there is nothing like it. I mean, the energy, the effort amps up a good 50 to 75% compared to the regular season. And that's why you want to go to Game Time, the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA. Now, they make getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. And here's the deal with the Game Time app. The prices of those tickets go down the closer you get to tip-off. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and you can also get the view from your seats with the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So here's what you should do. You download the Game Time app and you browse it, and you can see that you can get Celtics and Bruins playoff tickets for less than $150. And again, the closer to Game Time you get, the lower the ticket price is. These are terrific deals for big-time postseason games. Last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute sports, concert, comedy, theater tickets. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows that the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout and also the lowest price guaranteed. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. So, take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Look, I asked you this because, everybody kind of wanted to know when the whole thing happened with Ime and the controversy he had leaving with the Boston Celtics. As a player, one, I know you had to be surprised, but did you guys finally get an understanding? Because that just had to be shocking. It was shocking to me when they just called me overnight saying, Ime's out. Ime's out? What the hell mean Ime's out?
Yeah, I feel like there's more to say, but I can't. We're not gonna say. But I would say that
Grant's not talking. Is that what you're saying? And Grant is holding something. Joe Sway, hold on a minute.
I guess Langston
holding something back.
I know. Plus, Max, we didn't tell him, man. We keep it on 100 here. We should have put a disclaimer.
We keep it on 100.
That's what we do here.
Langston Worst was right about something. He called me the mayor back in the day. So I'm making this the right answer. I would say that I was definitely shocked because but you have to understand the organization's position. So I was definitely bummed and frustrated and didn't want him to leave and a bunch of other different emotions. But at the same time, you try to understand from the organizational perspective and business side of why it had to happen. And, we all have our understanding of the story and kind of things that were happening and blah, blah, blah. And I always just say, I'm supportive of my man because he's one of the best coaches in this league. And
this dude is the best, Joe Sway.
Great human.
This is the first time
It was good, man. He's got a future in politics.
I've ever heard him use blah, blah, blah. This doesn't connect. We just pick that. That's not a communicator, Grant. You know that's the 7 things your mom told you. Blah blah blah. What the hell is that? That's on the Simpsons. I mean, really.
That was option D. That was option D.
That group chat must have been crazy. I'll just say that. I'm sure between you and your teammates, man. Because it was crazy. Crazy 48 hours for sure.
It was a crazy 48 hours, and it's funny because it's cool because me and Joe had just got him back from Europe because I took Joe to Europe because I wanted to work with him that year. And then all of a sudden, all this stuff happens.
You're working with the head coach. That's crazy.
It turned out to be the head coach. But then that's why it was so difficult at the time because I was going through the whole contract and also playing well. And then all of a sudden stopped playing. It was just a weird thing. We talked in Boston, me and Joe, after everything that settled, all the dust settled, and after I'm Charlotte and stuff like that. And he's always been my family. So that's something that I was great and refreshing to be able to have your brother back. Because people always are wondering what's wrong with you and Joe, what's wrong with this, what's wrong with that. And it's cool to be able to say we're good and moving forward. And I'm supportive. I've always been supportive of them, but now we're back to where we were.
It is the NBA is in a great place right now. But I'm just trying to feel as a player, did you get an understanding or did you get the memo how the rules were just changed after the All-Star break? Because the game was completely called different. I'm like, a foul, which was a foul, wasn't a foul. And then
it's drastic, honestly. It's normally there's going to be some changes. Every year you're going to have it where you I remember last year you'd be oh, it's a little bit more physical, or they're letting things go a little bit more. That's why people always wonder, Grant, why are you always weird during the season fouling so much and stuff like that? And then when the end of the season / playoffs happen, you're oh, he doesn't foul at all. Yeah, because like late in the season, like they stopped calling the fouls that are like the tic tac, the flails that the guys do to get their point averages and stuff like that. But this year was like aggressively changed.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, like watching the playoffs right now, I'm like, I played in playoff series, and this year's completely like way more physical, and I would have loved it. Like, like it's something that like I wish they were able to do this over 82 games and over the course of like the whole season. But I do understand like player health, player safety, because like if you did this over 100 plus games, like you might have a lot more injuries than needed. But like they definitely, I don't know if it was a memo to the referees saying y'all need to, you know, tighten up, or if y'all need to do something, but they definitely changed their, like even some of the challenges that will happen during the playoffs now. You watch someone and you're like, yeah, like that's technically, like that would be a foul. In the regular season, that would be a foul. And all of a sudden they're like, yeah, it was incidental contact. I'm like, shit. It's all the same thing during the season then. Like I always laugh because I'm like, and then like I understand there's gonna be selective officiating sometimes. Like you can't throw Embiid out for the flagrant foul he had on Mitchell Robinson. But let me do that. I'm out of there.
Yeah, right.
Like certain things I'm just like, all right, like you gotta understand there's gonna be some gray area, but the black and white is a little bit more gray now than ever before, I think, in this whole playoff series and everything in regular season.
But that Joel Embiid thing, that to me was that was pretty bad. I mean, he just reached out and grabbed the guy's leg and yanked him back. That's like
what part of the game is that? Yeah, I got you.
Russell Westbrook got a flagrant for slapping a guy in the face and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, like what flagrant? That's like. I remember during the season. This is a sore subject, but I remember Brandon Miller took one dribble and put his arm out a little bit too high and got contact with the guy. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a flagrant 1, flagrant 2. I'm like, oh. Wow. So I'm just like, all right, let me just compare these to the playoffs now I'm watching. I'll watch some of the plays. I'm like, ooh, okay, we're gonna keep these games fun. Like these guys are gonna get thrown out. Like I think as a fan of the sport, like it's good. Like if I'm UMax, if I'm old, like if I'm even like the old school like 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s players watching this game, you're like, oh, this is the basketball I want to see. Like we had scores in the 90 to 96 to 80 in the playoffs. Like that's fun in my eyes, because it's not just the defense is allowed to play more, but we're not giving the like, oh, I just flailed and I'm getting the call. Like it's like, oh, we're going to compete for every basket, every bucket, and there's going to be some tough shots being made, and there's also going to be some different schemes that have to be done. So I enjoy it.
Here's one of the things that happened to you, and I'd like for you to tell the fans a little bit about it. Getting traded in the middle of the season. It's different when you get traded during the off season, but in the middle of the season, it's a little bit more upsetting, or is it just dramatic? What would you say?
It depends. So like if it was blind, I definitely would have been a little bit more like what the heck, like more frustrated, stuff like that. The benefit is that like me and Nico have a good relationship, and we were able to communicate. He's a very honest GM, or tries to be, with anything that's potentially like possible. And I remember I was communicating through the whole process because I had an idea, and I remember I knew it was gonna happen. So like it was more difficult, more so when you get there and like trying to adapt, figure out where to live. Like that's something that people don't understand, because like I was in a hotel for 3.5 months. So like living out of the bags, I never went back to Dallas. So like I had to have my mom or friends or family kind of go back and like ship bags, or like whether it was like fly out with them, be like, hey, I need some clothes to wear, because otherwise you just kind of you're living out of bags for the next.
But you know, look, it had to be a lot easier going to Charlotte, though. I mean, a lot easier because of, you know, that's your home. Yeah.
Yes and no, man. Not everyone wants to go home.
But say you want. Why did you never come back and play? Why did you come back and play in Charlotte, Max?
I was done then, bro. I didn't have nothing to give. I was my.
You wasn't trying to do that, man.
I was done playing.
No. You could have had 3 more years. You know, say you had 3 more.
Yeah,
let's
say hypothetically, right?
And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna play in Charlotte.
I would have loved Charlotte.
At 25, when you were playing, trying to develop your career.
Probably not.
Okay, but But
he want me to keep it on the 100, probably.
Keep it 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Something I will say that surprised me was that like how much I would love it. Like I got here at first, I was kind of nervous because I was like, I'm going to be surrounded by all these people I grew up with, and as much as they love and care, but like you're always going to get called, you're going to get hit up, and like you're going to have to balance stuff like that. But it's something special about playing for your hometown team, and also special with if your hometown team is trying to build something and you can be a part of it. That's something that I think I'm taking pride in because, like, I remember I grew up with the Hornets, I grew up with the Bobcats, and like the fact is we haven't had the success that necessarily a franchise would want in this NBA and the league. So if you're a part of that team or if you're a part of that group that can hopefully spur those next 30, 20, 30, 50 years, like I would love to be a part of that and lay the foundation and set it for the future. And
was Jordan, let me ask you this, was Jordan around at all, or was he hands-on? Was he out of there by the time you got there?
He's still, I think he's still a minority owner. He just shot me a text just because I'm a Jordan athlete and also because I knew him before. So I was thankful that, he reached out to me and was like, excited to have him, blah, blah, blah. But I think he's a little more hands-off now. Rick Schnall and Gabe Plotkin are the governors, and they're incredible. They want to – I'm
going to tell your mom, if you ever use that blah, blah, blah again talking, she's going to be in your ass, okay? Because Grant, that is not how you communicate. That'd be like you you're a communicator. I've seen you before on air, and it's just funny when you think about how you play and what you do, man. I love it, but for you to communicate like that, that's kind of crazy to me.
That's true. I was about to say, I just didn't want to, I don't remember the whole text word for word, so I just don't want to say, like, misquote what he said. But what I will say is that the new ownership really cares, wants to invest in the franchise, both from an investment in terms of like the facilities, but also really want to make it an organization that can compete with these historic and competitive teams that have been over the course of these past 15, 20 years in the NBA. So I'm excited for the potential here and the growth here because not only does the ownership want really to happen, but I think the city does. And I think that as we continue to grow, like there's something that we can make really special and make happen. And I think that's going to be sooner than people think.
What was coming back to TD Garden like? Because like you said, well, I don't know if I think we talked about it before we started recording, but you still keep in contact with a lot of your former teammates, first time going into the visitor locker room. And second part of my question is, were you surprised by the tribute video or the length of it rather? Just the whole experience. What was it like?
Well, I didn't get a tribute video. I was like, dang. I was like, I don't get
no exactly.
See, that was the controversy. I mean, after the fact, we didn't even know if we should actually call it a tribute video or a salute video because Max and I, we've been going to these games for years and years. I've never seen it done like that.
I was expecting them to show those threes you knocked down in the corner.
Game 7.
Everybody like, what's this Grant thing? Like, hey, Grant, thanks for coming. And
I think I always try to, play devil's advocate or look from the other side. But I think it's because when Rob told them he wanted just to salute, like, thank you and stuff like that, because they gave Smart the video. And I got to respect it. Smart was there for 8 years and was a true impact on the city and organization and everything else. And as much as I, was involved in the community and loved Boston and the organization, I think they just were trying to be consistent with what they had done prior. But was I a little bit disappointed? Yeah, just because I feel like there were some great years in those 4 years that I was there. I was a kid that got drafted there, and I was a kid that grew up there and was able to, hopefully go through a lot of things that help them get to the point where they are now. But I was thankful just because, even if it's a little dedication, no matter how small, you got to have some gratitude because they could have just not done anything. So even though it was just a thank you, Grant, that's something that can be standard across the league, but it definitely kind of surprised me. Normally, knowing Twist and all the guys that are there, I would assume that they would have wanted to. But my guess is whether it was organizationally or something, they were just trying to be respectful of the people that just came, whether it was Malcolm or Rob.
Yeah, no question. It was good to see you back, man, because obviously when you switch teams, it kind of pushed things back. And I just know the fans were excited. I saw a handful of your jerseys in the crowd, and it's always cool because that's sort of the Celtics tradition, Celtics culture. Like, people will remember you forever, and especially when you come up big in the playoffs. You know, that huge Game 7 performance, and of course the team that went to the finals, and like you said, a team that drafted you and you started your career here. So.
Yeah, and then in regards to like coming back as a visitor, yeah, it was definitely weird. Just because like I was like, oh yeah, I remember walking this tunnel, riding that bus backwards up the tunnel. You're like, yeah, I love this. And then like walking into the visitor side, it's really, really nice. I've never been over there, but it was pretty nice. But I remember like I didn't go on the court before the game, but I remember coming out and there was nothing but love, like in the arena, like people saying, come back, like we'll want you back, like, and stuff like that. And they were like, you be the next Al, we trade you, and then you come back 2 years later. And it was just, or Tice. I remember they said, we'll have Tice back for a third time.
Yeah, Tice the same. That's right. Yeah.
It felt refreshing, because, when you're playing there, you're going to have the mixed bag of emotion no matter where you're playing. But, like, the fact is, like, the true fans, the ones that show up every single night, that are supportive of the team, like, it felt cool to be able to come back, see the jerseys, see the love that was being poured. And it feels cool to be able to say that, you made an impact someplace, no matter if it was small or large.
Well, dude, we want to thank you for coming on with us, man. And, just giving you some that I'm pissed off that it's 86 degrees right now in Charlotte, and me and Joe Sway are dealing in the 50s here.
Nothing about spring. I mean, we got clear skies every now and then, but the weather, man, Grant's not it, man. It's the classic. You can wear a sweater, but, you're going to be hot during the day, but at night you're going to need that sweater again.
I've retired my Canada Goose, and
see, you don't need that anymore.
Listen, y'all have fun because I'm sitting pretty 90-degree weather, golfing in the morning, even during the winters. You might get a little cold, put a jacket on, but like I got a chance to be able to say like, oh, the only thing that I could say that Boston doesn't have that we have down here is the pollen and the all that stuff. The allergies, seasonal allergies. But other than that, y'all have it. Y'all have fun. I can see the sun in November. Y'all can have the gloomy skies all you want. I'm gonna be smiling.
Thank you, Grant.
Hold on, Grant.
Watch this, Joe. Wait, watch this. Blah 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 blah.
I want a prediction. How's this playoff going to end? Real quick. It's been a crazy first round.
Can I put contingencies?
Yeah, I mean, do whatever you want to. Keep it
100, man. You're going to offend us.
So I will have Celtics, and so it's either going to be Celtics Nuggets, and I think that if the Celtics play the Nuggets win by it's like a 7-game series or 6-game series, and the Nuggets find a way to win. If the Nuggets lose to the Timberwolves, I have the Mavs going to the finals, Celtics Mavs, and I have Celtics beating the Mavs in probably 6 games.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
But I think that's all contingent on if the Minnesota beats Denver. Because if Minnesota beats Denver, I think Denver's the hardest team for the Celtics to match up against, and just because Jokic is that special of a player and his ability to play and get guys involved.
Oh, is that why you wore that Batman thing that time? The Batman suit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
When you stopped Jokic that time, and he came back in here and rained.
Oh, listen. Ever since that day, Max. Ever since that day, anytime I play the Nuggets, he been on my ass.
He remembered. That's why he remembered
on my ass. But listen, I love it. I love competing.
Oh man!
Before we go, one last question I want to ask. Watching Anthony grow, Anthony Edwards. Is he that dude now? Is he that one?
I think that he is still going to continue to grow, but he's that motherfucker. Like he's that motherfucker. Like he's a guy that you can look at where you're like, if they keep that team together, he's a threat year over year. But it's a matter of like, do they have it this year? Because like adding that gauntlet to the West, just because you're the man this year doesn't mean that John might come in next year. Doesn't mean that Luka and them aren't going to improve. Like it's gonna be interesting to see who takes that mantle of that guy, because I think it's between JT, Luka, and Ant. Because Giannis and those guys are towards their like prime and stuff like that. They'll be towards KD's time versus these guys, young guys. And then eventually after that, it's gonna be Chet and Wemby and whoever else comes, Cooper, if he's that good.
You better not leave Shea out of there. You better not leave Shea.
This is what I'll say about
Shea.
He'll always be the underappreciated assassin.
Wow.
He'll be that guy. He'll be that guy that they're going to be like, he's going to be top 5 in the conversation and stuff like that. But like, they'll never give him the love. But I think that he's going to be that underrated assassin that's going to like always be a person that you're like, you know what, he deserves more credit. He deserves more credit. But people, he's in OKC. They're not going to talk about him as much as they probably should. But he's that underrated assassin that you're like, he might be in that James conversation where they're like, he's the best guard in the league. They might not say he's the best.
Either way, the NBA is in good hands, man. I can't wait to see all these careers unfold for sure. But he is veteran forward from the Charlotte Hornets. He is Grant Williams on the Cedric Maxwell podcast. Don't be a stranger, man. We'll have to have you back on, man.
Anytime. You know I'm good to talk.
That's right. All right.
Blah, 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 blah.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Cedric Maxwell podcast. You already know. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. He is Cedric Maxwell. I am Josue Pavone. We'll see you guys next week.
Josue Pavone here, CLNS Media, and if you made it this far, that means you really like this video. So hit subscribe, make sure you keep our notifications on, damn it, and we got plenty of great content coming your way.